listening to Frank Skinner's podcast from Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Steve Stigma-of-the-Dump Hall. You can text our show on 81215, follow the show on Twitter at Frank on the Radio, or email the show via the Absolute Radio website. Good morning, Richie. Morning, Jim.
Good morning. Anyone who hasn't listened to last week's show will just think you're calling me Stigmata-of-the-Dump.
Well, that includes me, I'm afraid, my friend.
Well, Steve did such a good joke last week.
Did he? Don't say it like it was a one-off event, never to be repeated.
But every now and again one does a joke when one sits back and thinks, yes, that was that would be in my time capsule. And I think that was such a moment for Steve.
It'd be in my best bits with Davina.
Oh, Steve, I'm so happy for you.
Yes.
Small victories.
But they also have the best bits on people's deathbeds. Davina should turn up and they should I mean, people have had things filmed. But, I mean, everyone has things filmed now, of course. Not like the old days where you had to be special.
I'd love a montage on my deathbed.
Yes. Montage on my deathbed, I know.
Frank, can you be responsible for execing it, just to ensure that certain bits don't make it in and certain bits do?
I'll script edit.
I trust you in so many ways.
Yes, I've noticed there is a bit. We were talking about none of us saw the opening ceremony of the Brazil Olympics because it's too late.
Was it midnight last night it started?
Yeah.
For people who do a morning breakfast show, it's simply not acceptable.
It's a no-go area.
But for the drunks, they couldn't believe their luck.
Oh, no, it's great.
All night, an excuse to be up all night for the drunks.
There's Andy Murray, look, with the flag. Sorry, we shouldn't be talking about what's on the telly, because obviously telly is rubbish. Who cares? So we were trying to work out what might have been in the opening ceremony.
Yes, and many of you may have seen it, but perhaps you can confirm whether they're correct or not.
Well, Pele wasn't.
That was the big thing, Pele.
Steve told me this morning, the one thing you would have thought, the Brazil, that's going to be Pele.
Yes, I think he had to bow out.
Yes.
But
what's the story there?
Well, I don't know.
It's a bit hard. He's going to be hard when Arge went missing.
Comparing Pele to Arge.
I'm guessing there was a scene where 700 people were simultaneously waxed to celebrate their Brazilian traditions. So it's usually all about everything about the country. You'll remember.
Okay, so we know.
One.
I think we can guarantee there will have been women in bikinis. Obviously, would you say?
I was. Well, I tell
with plumage.
Would they have been dancing the samba by any chance?
Oh, would they ever?
I find as I've got older, one thing I like less and less is a carnival atmosphere. When everyone says there'll be a carnival, I think, oh, will there?
Yes, I know what you mean. I know what you mean, Frank.
That idea of people going, yeah! Oh, shut up.
There's usually a policeman dancing.
And people call it...
And if anyone shouts tequila at any point, I'm out.
Look, they interviewed a bloke, some Brazilian bloke in the street on the BBC preview last night, and he said something like, one thing we love in Brazil is having a good time. And I thought, well, for a start off, having a bad time is not... There aren't many countries who own up to that as a thing they love. But also, I thought, I know what you mean by having a... I have a good time reading the Times Literary Supplement in my garden.
Well, Frank, that's not going to be a very interesting opening ceremony, though.
No, well, I mean, maybe... sometimes they start small. I was hoping that it would come and Isambard Kingdom Brunel would still be talking like 4 years later.
That's fine.
And then they'd come and say, hold on, it's our turn now.
I know you weren't a fan of the opening ceremony of the UK Olympics. However, that's what I liked about it, is that it wouldn't have surprised me if you had turned up reading the Times Literary Supplement in your garden. It had that slightly weird, unpredictable British vibe to it.
Well, I wouldn't say I wasn't. Was I not a fan of it?
No.
It's really grown on me, I must say. I watched a documentary about the making of it, and it made me cry all the way through. It was so beautiful.
Oh, good.
I do feel that it ultimately led to Brexit.
How do you say that?
Well, because he put it in the idea, Great Britain and all that, and there's people thinking, oh, yeah, that'd be good if we went back to the old Isambard Kingdom Brunel days. Anyway, Brazil, obviously, I'm hoping there was an enormous knot that opened and then there was something exciting inside it.
Alan Brazil.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wouldn't. I don't think he'd be invited.
There would have been a lot of women in gold bikinis with the tiaras attached to some sort of feather plumage cloak, Frank.
Yes, that's almost certain. Everyone would have been very, very beautiful.
I was worried with those opening ceremonies, it's the parade of athletes, and you're really into it and then you suddenly realise you've been watching for 45 minutes and they're still only midway through C.
Oh, yeah,
in alphabetical order.
That's usually when I switch off, whenever.
Oh, yeah, I always shut my eyes when it's Cameroon.
And there's that thing when they what's that thing when it's sort of fighting and dancing?
Oh, capoeira.
Oh, yes.
Capoeira.
Oh, calm down, dear.
Because the English version of the fighting and dancing combo is called a wedding.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Frank, we've had an email from Mark in Farnham, who's a regular reader of the show, and he's said he's delighted to hear of Buzz's success when he took part in the Egg and Spoon race.
Yes. For those of you who missed that one, one is always looking for natural aptitude of any kind in a child, but my son's... so the only thing I've picked up so far is he seemed to be naturally gifted at the Egg and Spoon race, and I was wondering why it wasn't an Olympic event, for example, why there wasn't an outlet for children who had that skill. And
Mark has asked, does Frank think this was in any way down to Frank's years of pavement pedestrian racing finally paying off? The speed walking gene being passed on to little Buzz?
Oh, yeah, that's an interesting...
Well, that could be. And you get very focused on your tasks.
I should also
you know what I mean.
Explain to new readers that we used to talk about this a lot, but one of my passions... certainly was pedestrian racing, so I would pick someone walking down the street who I was going to overtake, and sometimes would have quite a tussle in the overtaking, and I was never quite sure whether they were aware or not of what was going on, but in my head there was commentary, there was crowds cheering and everything, and it was
and what was the beauty of it lay in the sort of entirely unspoken nature of it all.
Yeah, and but certainly unspoken on the street, but on the show
yes,
we had emails, and it became quite a thing, pedestrian racing. I look back
I can
and
imagine Barry Davis's voice would be in my head. The particular perfect pitch for that kind of...
Yeah, I think I was thinking the bloke who used to do the show jumping, Raymond Brooks Ward. Come on, Harvey! A bit more like that. Yes, so that's a good point, though, because I did do a lot of quick walking.
Yeah,
excellent. Which is...
I think we had another. Didn't someone else make a suggestion?
We had a communique. Yeah, but this is going into a whole new territory. This is an email. I mean, do you want to read an email this early in the show?
Well, I think that was an email.
Yeah.
We don't have... Hey, to hell with the rules.
This is from... He hasn't given his full name. It's J.G.E. Martin.
Yes.
I like that. He sounds like a cricketer from the 1950s.
And he said he was wondering how Buzz could use his skill at the Egg and Spoon race, how he could put it to good use. I think Frank's son Buzz would be brilliant at hurling. It's not an Olympic sport, hurling.
Yes.
But the All-Ireland hurling finals get huge attendances of over 80,000.
Extraordinary.
And very helpfully, he's provided a YouTube link.
Well, I don't quite understand hurling. Could you gentlemen perhaps pull up a chair and explain to a lady?
It's a bit like if you was to raise hockey about 3 feet off the ground so that the ball is basically being propelled. There's a lot of... They do run with they've got these wooden... They look like spoons a bit.
Oh.
And they run with them, and they do balance the ball for quite a long time running, and then they absolutely I mean, it looks like the sort of sport where you accidentally get your teeth knocked out quite often.
It sounds a bit jousting meets lacrosse.
Yeah, it's got a man's thing, but it's an interesting application of the skill.
It has the clip. I watched the clip he sent. I feel I should provide the full link. YouTube/Egg MPBQ7VZJGE. I've realised the YouTube link is some of his initials that I've quoted.
Oh.
We don't tend to provide YouTube links,
No.
Steve.
I'm still
For that
learning.
reason.
I'm still learning.
Because there's all. Then you're going PBJ7Z.
It's quality radio reading out
yeah.
a YouTube link.
I mean, he nearly went to HTTP www. I mean, I can't even breathe.
But it's a bit hurling.
I don't even remember the last time I was so embarrassed. Someone suggested he could get a job in an insemination clinic.
You're talking about Steve?
No, boss. Running with a spoon as a general.
Oh, lovely.
When I said someone, it was my idea. Can't lay it off. Or I thought he could, if marathon runners had got a really bad cough,
Yes.
he could run along at the side of them with a helpful balsam of some kind.
He'd be so popular.
Yeah, the spoon guy.
And you know, you'd be proud of him as well. That was your son, the spoon guy.
Oh, you know, I'm proud of him. Can I make that clear? I am already proud of him, but I'd be even
I'm
prouder.
just saying,
Even a bit
yes.
prouder. Speaking of which,
Whatever happened to...
apostle spoons. Do you remember those things?
Now, what were they again?
They were spoons that had a little apostle on the top, little man in robes.
Really?
Yeah, right at the end of the handle, at the opposite end from the bowl.
I think I remember that. Oh, I always thought that was a claw. Did it have like a...
No, there was ones that looked a bit...
So were they in sets of 12?
I don't know if they were. Yeah, don't give me the Judas one. No, these are the apostles. No. Anyway, it had an apostle on the end of the spoon.
Oh, lovely.
And I saw.
Are you familiar with those, Steve?
I've never heard that. It's an
Really?
entirely new phenomenon.
Uri Geller, I saw in Ben one once. And the great thing, he had liquid in the spoon, and it bent over, and eventually the apostle was able to drink from the bowl.
Now that's magic.
Yeah. Apostle spoons, 8, 12, 15.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Mike in Mumbai has said of your pedestrian racing, Frank, come and try it in Mumbai. It's like Formula One here.
Well, come and try it in Mumbai would be very good for a little tourist board strap line.
Well, this is
would,
fantastic.
wouldn't it?
Pedestrian
Mysterious.
racing. Pedestrian racing has gone international.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'd love to try it. I bet it's fiercely hot out there, though.
Oh, yes, it's very hot. Lovely,
That's
though.
the trouble. We'd have to go and do altitude training. I don't think it's very high altitude, but it's hot.
Well, it is in the Himalayas, but that's a whole other story.
Yes.
I've been there. Ian Angle has been in touch, our old punning friend.
Oh, yeah.
Brace yourself, readers.
And he says the apostle spoon was phased out as it didn't have enough followers. Oh, Frank's not looking so supportive of
Well,
this
you know,
material.
I love that he tries.
Oh, rudest thing you've ever said.
Well, I don't... yeah.
It needed to have a Twitter reference angle or something for that to 100% work.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think you think of the apostles having followers as well. You think them beginning the following process.
Now, this is interesting, Frank, because we were talking earlier. Steve said he's been working with some ladies recently.
Yeah.
Are they taking a show to Edinburgh,
They are doing
Steve?
it. I'm directing a couple of shows in Edinburgh.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Steve is working...
Tight here.
Well, hold
I
that thought.
turn my eye. I offer some advice.
Lovely.
We've heard you turn your eye, that's the problem.
I've seen it happen. It's disgusting.
Steve is working with them in a sort of consultant capacity,
Absolutely.
would you say?
Yes.
You can name them.
So I'm doing two shows. Tom Ward, 9:45 Pleasance Cellar.
Oh, wow.
Norris and Parker, Pleasance Attic.
Well, we didn't know you were going to go
They're
YouTube
both
link on us, Steve.
Fabulous. Thoroughly recommended.
Tom
Very
Ward.
funny.
Is
And
a
they're
lady
both-
called Tom?
No, there's two. So there's a double act called Norris and Parker. Sinead Parker and Katie Norris.
Isn't that a chair? Oh, no, that's Parker Knoll.
Parker Knoll.
Sorry.
Yeah, they're lovely.
Yeah.
And
I
the
thought
other thing
Parker
is,
Knoll, Frank.
do you keep in that see-through plastic cover bit on the footrest, or do you take that off? Never worked that out.
That's a vote of confidence
So
in the
how
people.
did they-
Anyway, no, but Frank, can I just say before, why I raised that
Yes.
was because when we were discussing this, you said, oh, I've always fancied, I wondered if I could be a bit of a script editor, advise people on their comedy, and
Yes.
I just feel it was interesting the way you were dealing with Ian Angle right now. You were you were cruel, but maybe you were being kind to people.
That's constructive.
Yeah, constructive.
I'll tell you what happened. Speaking of the Olympics opening ceremony, I watched a documentary, a brilliant documentary that's currently on BBC iPlayer, actually, called One Night in 2012. And it's about the making of it, and it's absolutely, I'd recommend it very much. And it made me think, oh, it must be nice to be part of a creative team rather than just to be like, a solo person all the time.
Oh, thanks very much.
Well, I mean, we don't... yeah, but we don't create...
Done very well in the Radios, actually, this week.
That's true. But, I mean, we don't sit around and plan and structure things. I think anyone will be able to ascertain. We don't
brainstorm, do we? Yeah.
But they obviously got together and built this thing. So when Steve said he'd now become a comedy mentor, I thought, that'd be interesting. When I heard it was two women, I thought differently.
Frank Skinner
on Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
We were talking about Steve, Frank, because he's got this new career as he's consulting. I think you'd be very good, sort of directing, and is that kind of what you're doing?
Yeah. And I think you'd be brilliant at it, Frank.
Thank you.
You're so steeped in comedy,
and I'm also quite steep. I don't know if you ever tried climbing me, but Buzz tries it sometimes, and he has to give up about naval level.
I think you would be good, but I've got a few caveats.
But I couldn't. If I said to Kath I was mentoring two women in a double act, she'd slap my face.
Well, if you put it like that.
But I mean, I'd have to do... I was in a club once watching Gareth, actually, Gareth Richards, who is currently in Edinburgh. Go and see his show.
Well, I saw it last week and it's phenomenal.
There you go. And a guy came up to me and said, would you be my comedy mentor? I swear...
Was it David Baddiel?
No. I know, he stopped asking. And this guy said, all you'd have to do is come and see me maybe 5 or 6 times a year, so we could meet a couple of times, and send me, he'd just email me and just keep me generally on track. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. He said, well, I could really benefit. I said, no, look, can we stop this? This is not going to happen on any level. And he went away with a flea in his ear. He went away a bit disgruntled, I thought.
Well,
that's very direct, though, Frank, to say that. A lot of people would have said, oh, yeah, OK, get in touch with my agent. But you went for the full-on
Well, I mean, people... It's like
rejection.
When I wrote to Alan Bennett and said, let's write a play together. I mean, come on.
Did you know he did that, Steve?
That's true,
That is a true...
And he wrote back to me in a very nice... Obviously said no.
Yeah.
But the fact that I had the cheek to that...
What year was this that you wrote to him?
This was when I was in my pump.
Right, so it's not in the drinking years.
No. This was in the 90s when I was, I thought I ruled the world.
I can exclusively reveal he did.
So I thought, he'll snatch me hand off, Alan Bennett, write a play. Looking back now, it's very squirm-making.
Well, maybe it's worth another try
with Parker Knoll.
Maybe it's worth another try with Bennett.
No, I don't think
get a new series of Shane off the ground with Alan Bennett.
Once bitten. That's my moral when it comes to Alan Bennett.
What about with Parker Knoll?
Norris and Parker, I feel like I should plug them.
Norris and
Less
Parker.
people turn up to see a chair.
Do they? So how does it work? Well, I'm envisaging you in the back of the auditorium, Steve, with a light. One of those little Anglepoise lamps, Frank?
Have you ever seen those pens that have got a light on them?
Yes.
I've seen critics using
pens.
It's very much like a chorus line. That's how I do it. It's interesting that you saying that this bloke could ask you 5 or 6 times a year, because that's the thing. It's just about a time commitment. Because if you want to know someone's stuff, you need to see it. It's like when you were on the road with Gareth. You'd watch each other every night for a couple of months, and so you get to really know each other's gear. Whereas sometimes on the circuit you might gig with someone once a year, twice a year, and so you're only really, you might see them on a duff night.
But I often see comics, and while they're doing their act, I think of another gag that would work there. But I never... People
Oh,
don't...
Frank, I can just
Do you-
imagine.
do
It
you
makes me
never,
cringe, you going up
You don't
someone.
offer them, because they're so... Holly
look-
Walsh is brilliant at offering stuff. She's if I gig with her a couple of times a year, she's always comes up and...
Oh, I
and
don't think
just
we
to-
should cast aspersions on her.
I think you need nerves of steel to go up to a comic and say, I've thought of a way of improving your act, though.
Yeah, it's the
sort of-
sort of thing
yeah.
you'd do.
No, I'd rather leave them in the gutter.
But does anyone do that to you? Because it'd be more intimidating to go up to you and sort of go, I found a better joke.
They have done it in the past. They've always been very ill-judged suggestions, in my
I think
opinion.
the rule is if it's asked for, fine, but I don't like the idea of some vigilante comic going around offering unasked for opinions on things.
Well, I saw a comic recently, and he started with talking about the fact that he was from overseas, and he was talking about the fact that he was on benefit, that he'd come here and was living on benefit, and it was funny, talking about, thank you very much for, for the benefit system. It's not so, if I'm going to take money, I'd rather take it from you than from my own country. And it was very, it was funny. And then afterwards, he did a bit where a knock came on the door, and he did the walk to the door and what he was thinking as he walked to the door. And because he was thinking a lot, it was quite a long walk, and he said after a bit, sorry, it's a long way to the door. And I thought what he should have said was, I live in a very big flat. Thanks again for those benefits. It would have been a
Nice,
good
yeah,
speech,
yeah.
but I wouldn't have told him that.
Oh, well, you just have. That's good.
No, but he won't. They're not up, you see, the young comics. They're not up at this time.
This is
Frank Skinner, Absolute Radio.
Frank, I'm enjoying Richard Parsons, who's just supplied a whatever happened to moment.
Oh.
I think it'll even be worth the music once this comes out the other side.
I'm putting a lot of trust in you here, but hold
Okay.
on, give me un momento. Here
Come on,
we
Frank.
go.
Chilblains.
Don't they still exist?
No, I've never heard of anyone having them since about 1952. Oops, giving away my age there.
I don't know that they really exist. I was warned about chilblains. I began to regard them as a mythical beast, that it was if you go too close to the electric fire after you've been out in the cold. That was my dad's thing, was you'd get
What
chilblains.
are they exactly?
That'd be a good text in mythical illnesses. Didn't it? Irritable bowel syndrome.
Yeah.
A doctor told me.
IBS.
A doctor told me that if you go with stomach trouble to the doctor and they don't know what it is, they tell you it's irritable bowel syndrome.
Right.
So it's an enormous umbrella.
Oh, is it?
It actually means stomach trouble that we don't know what it is. So good luck with the medication, guys.
Okay.
We've also had a text from Tanya, who's on her way.
How is she?
She's on her way after a 12-hour night shift as a nurse.
Oh,
and she
wow.
says, I still have an apostle spoon. Thank you for reminding me I'm old.
Oh, well, that doesn't mean that. I think they're probably still sold.
We'll have to...
You see, have we become such a secular society that we no longer have apostle spoons, even?
Well, I think
Man.
there are slightly stronger signers than that.
Yeah, I know, but you'd think, I blame Dawkins. He's ruined the cutlery industry.
Would you use the apostle?
That'd be a great argument against the new atheism, the damage they've done to the British cutlery industry.
Did religious people... I mean, was it primarily Catholics that liked these apostles?
No, they were
spoons?
everywhere. They were
Really?
commonplace.
Oh.
Would you not...
We didn't get them in,
London?
Well, I wasn't going to say London, but in our circles.
Well,
Would you not have an objection to the apostles? You don't like the possessive 12s. Is that... So would you not insist there be 13 apostles?
no, no, it's not oppressive 12.
Is it possess... I couldn't remember.
Oppressive because you have to say 10. He can't say 4 minutes past 10.
I know, but he
Stuff
saw
like
the
that.
12 there and he went for it.
He does. I don't have time for this, to be honest with you. Be absolutely brutal.
This is
Frank Skinner, Absolute Radio.
So, I'll tell you what I did do.
What?
Speaking of religion, I went to see the new Harry Potter play
Ah.
Wow.
last weekend.
I saw a picture of you on the red carpet
Oh, yes.
with Kath looking glam, may I say.
She looked lovely.
Oh, she looked stone cold
Lovely
Fox.
to look at, wonderful to know.
The hair was
what
good.
was Frank wearing?
The brows were on fleek.
What was
the dress was phenomenal.
No, she looked great.
I'd got out an assortment of dresses for her to borrow. I was calling bikes. I was worried, I'm not going to lie. Because last time I saw her, she turned up with a rucksack as a clutch.
Well, no, she does that a lot. But when she emerged...
She pulled it out.
When she emerged on the day...
Phenomenal.
If I'd have had an electric guitar, I would have played... and sang, "You look wonderful."
Oh, she did.
Yes.
You must be very
was
proud.
Frank looking, because obviously Frank has had his own dress sense criticised by Bumble on the cricket this week.
Yes.
What?
I went to the test match.
Yes.
This week, and I was sitting. I can't remember who I was with at the time. I was
Trevor
with,
Francis,
I was
I
with.
believe.
I was with. Yeah.
Oh, that's a
former
nice friend for you, darling.
Or as Twitter misidentified Jasper Carrot.
Yes. I said to. I often ask celebrities what question they're asked the most, and he said, "Well, I don't know about what question he said, but what people say to me the most is all right, Jasper." So that there is and so what they do is if you wear an earpiece at the cricket. So
I've seen those, like at the National Gallery when you have a guide.
So you're listening to the Sky commentary, and so Bumble on Sky.
Bumble?
Yes.
Wasn't he in the Oliver Twist orphanage?
It's a Bumble brag.
Yes. He was a very fine cricketer and coach and umpire, actually.
Indeed, yes.
And he now is a commentator, and he said, "There's Frank Skinner. Looks as if he got dressed in the dark this morning." And,
Get out! He
I was
did not
I was
say
actually
that.
wearing this shirt, this same shirt.
Which is lovely.
Yes, indeed,
Yes,
yeah.
and I tell you what, I sort of went a sort of fancy dress as a man going to the test match. So I wore a sort of a cream linen suit.
Oh,
and
our
all
man
that.
in Havana, I like
Yeah,
that.
man in Havana, very much that. Yeah, and
I thought you might
dare
reply.
Bumble say
I
that?
thought I might see you mouth, "You're no tontin homo sheriff yourself."
if only I was as sharp as you, Stigmata. I wasn't Stigmata. Remember, I've broadened it out to the religious thing again. We'll come back to Harry Potter and Test cricket after this.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
This, however, is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Steve Stigma-of-the-Dump Hall and Emily Dean this morning. You can text us on 81215, follow the show on Twitter at Frank on the Radio, email the show via the Absolute Radio website.
Why is he called? Is it Stigmata of the Dump?
No, it's
Stigma. What was the reference though? I'm going to make you repeat a joke now.
It was
which I'm
basically.
sorry.
It was.
I'm just
It was a nice bit. It was a neat bit of improv.
Okay.
Frank was relating
No, he
his school
says it
days.
himself.
Yeah.
Oh.
Frank was relating his school days and about how if you wanted to visit the facilities, the teacher would say, "Do you need
To
to
sit down,
Yeah.
you know, if you know what I mean.
But you
Stop doing your directing thing while he tells
I know,
it.
but he's not doing it.
Well, no, because there was the detail
I
that
know,
you
but this
that
is
you
what's
would
going to
be-
happen when you're directing
This
people.
is what we need.
It is.
No, this is what's going to happen. He's going to get up on stage and say, "Sorry, everyone, sorry." He's not doing it quite how I would have done
I
it.
know, that's difficult, I know.
I know.
Well, no, that'd be great. Then my Edinburgh show could become just an hour of classic Skinner. People, I would actually
Yeah,
sell
but
some. I'd
classic-
sell some tickets.
Classic gittery is what it would be.
Yeah, but lovable guitar.
Yeah, so if you went out of school, let me help. If you went to the toilet to sit down, as we would put it on breakfast radio,
Yes.
you had to say how many sheets of paper you wanted. They wouldn't give you the whole
Okay.
roll in case you threw it around. For some reason, every kid that got the whole roll threw it all around the toilet. So we'd have to say.
Oh, I see.
And I said it was embarrassing because, you know, there's a certain stigma attached to.
Oh, I'm seeing where this is going, and you.
And
Steve.
I chipped in with the
Yes.
now immortal line, which I'm almost too embarrassed to
Go
admit to.
on.
I said the stigma of the dump.
Which is brilliant.
That's first class.
And,
Absolutely. Top end.
And you know, Frank, there is no praise higher than that,
Indeed.
where I'm concerned.
Yes. So
You went to Harry Potter.
yes, I went to Harry Potter, and I tell you what, I loved it, and I thought it's actually made me think that I might start reading the books
Lovely.
because I mean I know they're for children, and also I don't know if you remember, but when they first came out, the Roman Catholic Church urged people not to read them because they said it encouraged children to dabble in the occult. Do you remember this?
Goodness me.
Kids have changed.
No, I missed that.
Stepping up to the
We
occult.
used to think that
I missed that at Pontifex alert
Yes.
on my
We,
notifications, I'm afraid.
We used to think that balancing a bucket of water over a slightly ajar door was like the epitome of evil when I was a kid. And now they dabble with the occult if you give them half a chance. Gibbon, half a chance, as they said on Funky Gibbon.
Are we allowed to say?
There's two
Sorry,
separate
Steve.
parts to the play. Is there two shows?
Yes, there is two.
And Frank does have a
Oh, let me
personal
just- let me
connection, but I don't know if we're allowed to say it, Frank.
Well, hold on, let me just say one thing. Kids putting buckets of water over slightly ajar doors. Does that still happen?
Yeah, well, it became the ALS challenge.
But isn't it sort
It's
of...
impressive, though, when you think. I mean, quite complex engineering skills
Yeah.
required. Where do they tie the rope to?
And you'd imagine that bucket would just drop downwards and hit the person hard on the head with that like metal reinforced rim section at the
Yeah.
bottom and split their skull open rather than tip over and...
Yeah,
You don't-
that was
you
a
never
side
see
that was a side to
anymore.
the Beano you never saw. The full consequences of Roger the Dodger's antics.
You're quite right. Roger the Dodger, The Aftermath was the book that we were all looking for. Never came out. Still time.
Yeah.
Roger the Dodger. I was his victim. Sort of thing you get in the tabloids
Is
on a
this the most
Saturday.
evil man in Britain? Roger the Dodger.
Roger says, "I will dodge again."
No.
I could be his
Dodger
victim.
pictured at a dog show in Halifax 2 years ago. The last known photo of him, with him slightly looking a
And a
bit.
picture of me.
Yeah.
Alarm.
I was
Grinning
conned,
Dodger.
said Emily.
Yeah.
Picture of you in a neck brace.
Yeah.
Grinning Dodger has TV in his cell.
Yeah, and one of the, those benefit cheat crutches that clutch you around the forearm. One of those. Oh man, it's all there. It's all just waiting.
I'm so doing kiss and tell Roger the Dodger.
Now it's got a picture of him now looking very old. Caption: Roger the Codger.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
You were talking about Bumble earlier.
Oh
who
yes.
appears to be, I mean, people just refer to him like everyone knows him, like it's Madonna, Bumble. 449 to Frank, did you enjoy your conversation with Bumble on the telly at the cricket the other day? He was taking the mick out of your garish shirt, Postman Matt.
He was, yes. He sort of interviewed me remotely.
So hang on, can we just establish for
I'm
people
sitting listening to the commentary.
Yeah, and is he a
while-
commentator?
And he's a commentator, yeah.
on Sky?
And he's a borderline. No, I wouldn't even say borderline. He's a national treasure. He's
Oh, I thought you were going to say psychopath or something.
No, he's much loved.
Okay.
Funny bloke. And he said to me, after he took the mickey out of my shirt, he said...
Could you hear him taking the mickey?
Well, I could hear him because I'm listening to the
Of course,
commentary.
yeah.
He can see that I've got the earpiece in.
Yeah.
You can just get them, at the ground. It's not a special thing to get. You can just buy them.
Okay.
And so he knows I can hear him.
Did you laugh?
So I laughed, of course, yeah. And then he said to me, so what about when you interviewed Mark E. Smith? And he started just like interviewing me remotely. He said, he's a nice, friendly chap, isn't he? Which was...
Well, it must have been quite strange for you, because did you look at the camera at this point? Or?
well, you have to... It made me realise that must be very difficult for the mute when they're being interviewed.
Yes.
Because I started working my way through my whole range of facial expressions to try and give a sort of a response.
And did you come across a bit like a silent movie actor?
Well, a
in
bloke
your
from
subtlety?
Sky once said to me that he was developing an idea for a completely silent panel show. With no language at all. You just add to, mime and do all that sort of stuff. The fact that I've never heard of it since suggests how well it went. But it did make me think back to that. But it was very unusual being interviewed by someone who is sitting in the press box some distance away and who I can't see.
You got a live roast.
I
was,
like that you had your name tag as well on the.
Yes.
He had a name tag that just saying Frank Skinner. And I think in terms of
Oh my
No,
God,
in
that's
terms
the
of
most
wrecking-
adorable thing
yeah.
I've ever heard.
I'll tell you something, I wish I'd had it at the Harry Potter
Why?
opening night, because it was one of those. I am at a stage now. I'm not quite famous enough for big openings.
That's not true.
It is true, though. I think when I went to the paparazzi bit, there was they took like one photo each, and I think that is
That's worse than none, Frank.
that's just in case I'm in a major scandal in the near future. and
or
they can-
accident.
You're still, I think you're still, unless anyone's going to go, blimey, Ken Doherty's doing well for himself. That's your only real sporting lookalike. This was someone tweeted the show saying that they thought you looked like Ken Doherty.
Oh, okay. I wish I'd got his money.
Oh,
Oh, no,
please,
actually,
you're better than
actually, I
that.
probably have. But, yeah, I went up to... the woman interviewed me before I went into the Harry Potter, and she said to me...
Oh, was she
will
in
you-"
the press pen, Frank?
Yes, and she
Yeah.
said to me, will you say your name and spell it before you start?
She didn't.
Oh!
Right.
Help me!
Does Will Smith get that?
I know, I don't think Will Smith gets it. I mean, no.
Say your name and spell it.
I think
How dare she?
you wouldn't say it to Arnold Schwarzenegger because she wouldn't be absolutely confident he could spell it.
Or maybe she does just do that to everyone. I'd love it if she did that.
And then just remember... you
Say
know,
to Justin Bieber, could you say your name and spell it?
and you know how you public line up down the side and call out and all that? And the bloke said to me, can I have a photo, Frank? Can I have a photo? So I had a photo of this bloke, and he said to his girlfriend, do you want a photo of Frank? She said, nah. I mean, it was a death of 1,000 cops walking into the theatre. I tell you, my ego. I just left my ego roadkill.
More stressed out than the people on stage, Frank.
Oh God, just to get in there. But I loved the show, so that was something.
Frank
Skinner.
on Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
Ian Angler's rescued himself. He said, I've not heard of Bumble. Is he a B-list celebrity?
Now,
I see.
Steve,
He's
come
back.
on. Yeah, I know, but I think we should... I love Angle, but I think it should be a one pun a day rule.
No, he's if he's got one. I don't want him sitting on one. That's good.
Angler's Weekly. That could be the...
Well, just look what
Yeah.
you've done now.
Oh no. Well, that was good.
Well, can't you just say that? It can't just... The show can't just be you two doing puns, saying that was good afterwards.
I put a after.
See, you could be a director as well. There you go. Say that to Tim Vine, see how he responds.
After Stigma-of-the-Dump, I suggested we didn't have any more puns last week because we couldn't follow them. Steve just ignored me.
You know my
I
feelings
got cocky. It went to my head.
You know my feelings on puns.
Yes, I know, but it's they are wonderful, but they must be used sparingly. That's my view. So yeah.
Oh, Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
So you had a lovely time.
Had a lovely time, party at the end of it.
It's had very good reviews.
Broomsticks at 1 a.m. It said on the invite. No, it didn't. Made that up. JK was there, of course.
She looked
Do you know
phenomenal.
what? He doesn't wear the furry hat with the horns anymore. Didn't recognise him.
She looked good.
She did look good, yeah. She looked great. She was. We were actually on the red carpet at the same time. That helped my my photograph thing.
I still can't get over that someone said, "How can you spell your name?"
It wasn't celebrity heavy. I think they thought, you know what? It's so big, Harry Potter. We don't really need.
Well, I saw
anybody.
you, David Baddiel, JK, and yes,
Dave
I was
Schneider.
standing behind a barrier with a baseball cap on.
That was it. Yeah, it was.
Oh,
It
David
was-
Schneider, he's
I
lovely.
suppose if JK's turning up, then you don't really need anybody else. If she's going to wear winged stilettos,
Wow.
that's the photo, isn't it?
Come on, Frank. It's Harry Potter. You'd hardly need Towie people turning up to give it credibility. I mean, the play is the
I
star.
wonder if anyone asked her to spell her name. Particularly with JK. Maybe
No,
that's why she's gone for the initials.
Yeah, I don't think they would have done that. That would have been they'd have been removed. Anyway, it was splendid, and it was written by my brother-in-law.
Well, it was.
Yeah, that's the only reason I got invited. Let's face it. Yeah, there was a time in the 90s I was one of the most famous people in the UK, and now I'm not even the most famous person in my family.
I know. I'm glad you've raised that, because I haven't been felt able to.
Well, his book, the book of the thing came out on Sunday, and it sold like 98,000 million copies already, so... Yes.
Well, look on the bright side, Frank. Christmas is going to be good.
Well, we don't
On the
know.
old present front.
His IMDb page is pretty wonderful. The stuff he's done.
Yeah, okay, rub it in.
Oh,
I don't even have an IMD, I don't think
you
so.
do.
I'm sure you do.
Do I?
Well, you must have, Frank. You've been
done
around
that.
for so long.
Blue Heaven. Well, it'd start Blue Heaven. Would that be your,
Yeah,
packing them in, packet of 3?
Yeah, all right. I was with Chaplin earlier.
It's a mad world.
Look, I've had my time in the limelight. I'm happy in the garden with the Times Literary Supplement.
This is
Frank Skinner, Absolute Radio.
Frank, this is very important. Do you recall our art dealer friend, Simon Shaw? He's one of our regulars. He's been in touch before.
Okay.
No matter. Anyway, he has been in contact, Simon Shaw. Observations and salutations from the Côte d'Azur.
Lovely.
An historical note. I like the way he says an historical note. The finest collection of apostle spoons was owned and actually invented by the late, great Pete Postlethwaite.
Invented by Pete Postlethwaite.
And I thought your tie looked very refined at Edgbaston, Frank. Bumble's a mess. It's been a while. All best, Simon, brackets art dealer. Now, this is my kind of correspondent.
Pete Postlethwaite cannot have invented the apostle.
Is he doing one of your
It's-
past
this is-
things?
Yeah.
It's Postle, isn't it? It's apostle. Postlethwaite.
Yeah. This is the kind of the inverse to the Ian Angle. Simon Shaw has done a pun, and he's presented it so perfectly, believably, that we've actually briefly been fooled.
I liked it.
People don't get it. I want some real information on apostle spoons.
Well, you might have to wait a while, Frank. It's
you know what, I don't-
2016
I
on
don't
commercial radio.
I don't want that rarest of all radio events, apostle spoon banter.
229 has texted to say apostle spoons. I can't remember them. Cross-channel ferry pens, on the other hand. So I don't know. Is that a thing you recognise? That's new to me.
I think I do remember cross-channel ferry pens. The pens that advertised that. Oh, come on, too many pauses.
Now, do you wish to discuss... Well, we've still got to find out... Harry Potter, I feel we've covered.
Well, listen, when I was at the cricket, I met a few... there's always a few Warwickshire greats from the past when you go to Edgbaston.
Oh, OK, like who?
MJK Smith.
Oh, I don't know.
No,
who
even
that
though
is.
you don't know him, but you can tell that's an
I
art
love the
cricketer.
name, Frank.
Yeah.
I can see him. He's very Wisden's Almanac.
Very. And there's a guy called Bob Barber.
Of course there is.
Yeah, who used to play. And there's a story about Bob Barber. Bob Barber was...
Bob Barber.
It's quite hard to say Bob Barber.
He sounds like the sort of person who might be... You might be directing a show at Edinburgh right now.
Yeah. So Bob Barber was in a team with Mike Brearley. You've heard of him.
Oh, of course.
Former England captain. And they were playing chess in the dressing room, which is just marvellous. I mean, I don't think they do that anymore. Maybe they do.
Don't get that at West Brom.
I wish I could play chess. Do you play chess, Steve?
Yeah, not to a very high standard.
Come on.
Do you?
No, of course I don't.
Okay. I like the idea of it. I think I'm of an age now. I'm playing in the park, maybe.
Frank, I think it would be quite good for my image. Sorry to sound quite narcissistic, but I think it would be quite sexy.
Yeah, I do.
I could have those nice glasses,
yeah.
intellectual chess
And
player.
you could like pick up a piece and slightly, maybe just sort of lick it round, just lick the top of the bishop's.
Anyway.
Goodness me.
so Bob Barber.
Getting hot in here.
Bob Barber.
I'm actually ill when you said that.
So they were playing chess in the dressing room, Barber and Brearley, and there was an interruption in the game because Bob Barber had to go and bat. So he went out to bat, and he'd batted for about 20 minutes when he called for... he started pointing at his glove and called the 12th man down with new gloves, which is a bit weird. So the guy came with
the apostle.
The guy came down with the new gloves. Bob Barber gave back his gloves he'd been wearing, nothing wrong with them at all, and said to the 12th man, Bishop to B5. Absolutely. Hey, do you remember when sport was like, this is before the drugs, you see?
Yeah.
Chess, that's all they needed.
This is
Frank Skinner, Absolute Radio.
So we didn't watch the Olympics last night because it was past our bedtime.
Yeah, it's too late.
But already there's been a few controversies.
Well, one thing I did notice in the little bit I saw on the news as we started the show is that Andy Murray seems to have mastered the flag holding.
Because he had a bit of bother with it. Did you see this?
He had a
feed?
spot of bother.
Right, Frank Spencer.
A
Little bit of trouble.
A little bit of trouble.
It's a good impression, Frank.
I can't imagine Andy Murray doing a Frank Spencer. If you had to do a list of people in the public eye who don't do a Frank Spencer impression, he'd be right up there for me. Him and Russell Crowe, I bet have never done one.
No, he's not much.
Russell Crowe is more likely to do a Frank Spencer impression than Andy Murray.
Listen, he likes a laugh, old Russell.
Well, I'll have a try. I don't know how it'll go. I'll try it.
Ooh, I've had a little bit of trouble.
That's actually better than I thought. Yeah.
Wait,
So,
did you see there were photo call?
Well, there was him. What I liked, there was him and the Princess Royal.
Yes.
Yes. Who looks
side
more
by
like her spitting image puppet with every
Yes.
passing year.
I think she's aged quite well, the princess. She's my.
I think she looks great.
I'm putting her in my would but shouldn't. Seriously,
Yeah.
I think she's. Now, let me ask you a question about the Princess Royal.
Sure.
And this is open to our readers as well, if anyone... Am I right in saying... She used to be just Princess Anne. That was how she was known.
Correct.
And then she was given this title, the Princess Royal,
Correct.
in 87, I think.
Okay, very good.
Now, I always thought at the time that she'd been given that title because that was at the period where EastEnders was absolutely in its pomp.
Right.
And Letitia Dean was always called Princess by Dirty Den.
The one who got in trouble, yeah.
He always called her Princess. And it was like she was Princess Anne. The royal family decided, well, we need to distinguish these two. So they put Princess in brackets, Royal.
Yes.
And I always thought that was their main... that was their motivation for calling her that.
I think you're bang
Because
on.
because it's a tautology, isn't it? It's the
Princess Royal? What other sort of princess?
Yes, you're absolutely right.
Unless who would the Princess Common be?
Yeah. Well, that would be Letitia Dean.
Yeah.
Or me.
No disrespect. You wouldn't get the Queen Royal, would you?
No,
I guess
it wouldn't
the
happen
royal-
with any of them.
The Royal Queen.
Yeah.
Rubbish. Sounds like a...
Well, in that photo shoot as well, when they're trying to get Andy to move the flag out of her face, they kept referring to her as HRH.
Did they?
They say,
Yes.
oh, careful of HRH.
Oh, really?
I tell you exactly what they said because I've learned it off by heart. They said, "Move it a bit, please, Andy, because you're blocking HRH." I'll never forget it. It's
Well,
like,
I didn't
they can only
you may
call her-
have, he may have an impression of Frank Spencer. I can do an impression of the photographer who said you're blocking HRH.
That's tremendous work.
It must be tricky if they ever do a photo shoot with more than one royal present, because I'll have to go, HRH, can you move? You're blocking HRH. HRH, can you move to the left?
How about this for an impression, right? Here we go. See if you can guess who this is.
Is that me?
Any offers? It's the woman it's the woman who sneered at Susan Boyle when she first appeared. Remember they cut to a young woman in the audience?
It's so obscure.
I know, but where are they now? The woman who dissed Susan Boyle before she sang, based purely on her appearance.
Why hasn't she written a book or something?
Boy, was she ever wrong as well.
Yeah.
But in a way, she spoke for the whole... When she went... we were all doing that at home. And I remember they cut to that woman, and I thought, yeah, you're right, look. Oh, hold on a minute. We were all fools.
I love your
track it
obscure
down. We
impressions.
can write her autobiography. That
I'd
was
love to.
So
If we can
sneer
find-
and yet so far.
If we
Yes.
can find the woman who sneered at
Well,
Susan
that's
Boyle.
what she should call her book, The Woman Who Sneered.
Yeah, that would be great.
And then she just needs to have an affair with Roger the Dodger. I mean, ka-ching.
See that when we're on about Roger the Dodger's photo, that's that one photo that the paparazzi took of me. They've just got the caption, if that's ever shown, would be post scandal. It'll just say before we knew. That's what I live on the bottom. Anyway, yes, let's find out. Anyway, if anyone knows the young woman who went,
Was she a young woman, was she?
she was quite young. Yeah, she was with a friend. They were both. You know,
And they raised their eyebrows.
they were being disparaging.
Yeah, I
like,
remember it
look
well,
at this
Frank.
woman with a moustache. Little did they know that moustache was going to be dripping gold bullion.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
What are we talking about? Princess Anne?
Oh, yes, Andy Murray trying to hold the flag. At one point, when he was trying to hold it, he was so grumpy about it. I mean, unsurprisingly.
Yeah.
But it was a big un.
It was.
He's holding it here, he's holding it there. He blocks HRH or he blocks
And
that
also,
other one.
HRH has had more flag experience than most. I mean, it's all right for her. She does a great bit where she points and pulls her face.
Loved it.
It's one of the best I'm with this idiot expressions I've ever seen. I mean, she's got comedy, she's got the body.
She's got the body and the hair. I mean...
Yeah, she should definitely live in High Barnet.
Yeah, I love her. And I love Zara, my two favourite royals.
I was wondering if he was sulking, because I read an interview with him where he said that for the first time in 15 years...
Andy Murray sulking? Take that back!
He's for the first time in 15 years, he has to share with his brother in the Olympic Village.
Oh, does he?
They're sharing, and he was clearly a bit annoyed about it.
That'd be
You say
lovely,
that, I bet
would.
Judy's in there. Judy will be in that room.
Go and just put her head through the window in the morning and go, come on! Terrifying.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
We've had a tweet from Ben Weeks who says, just looked at the images of the Princess Royal. Me too, Frank.
Yeah, she looks lovely. How old is the Princess Royal? How old is the Princess Royal? Ooh, let's hear it. How old is Princess Royal? Ooh, yeah, baby. How old, Princess Royal? Ooh, now, come on. You know that? Do you know that?
That is the strangest song I've ever heard in my entire life.
It's better if we were on the Bayou. It
No,
would be
I
more
like
in
this. It's a
context.
bit like not having seen the Olympics. I like, let's throw our respective hats in the ring on the old age front. Not personally. I'm
would-
going Princess Royal. What do you... can I go first?
Yes, you go first.
61.
Okay.
I'm going to say 65.
Frank Skinner.
Let me think. I would guess she's got a sort of a late... I'd say she's born in... The Queen was coronated in 53. I don't think Princess Anne...
Gone, Who Wants to Be a
was around
Millionaire?
I'd
Just
say,
give the answer.
I'd say she was born in... I think she's 60.
Okay.
Yeah.
60, 61 and 65.
And if you're listening, just send us a photo of your passport, love.
Oh, God, I wonder
Annie,
where
are
that
you
was
okay?
going. I really wonder where that was going to end. Yes.
Anyway, so we had the slightly bizarro photo call with the flag
Oh, yes.
with Andy and HRH.
Which was very... She's shot up in my estimation. I think she should be
Little
queen.
rendition of my impression again. I think people have been asking for it.
What, your Princess Anne?
No, I don't do Princess Anne. I do an impression of the photographer.
Oh, yeah, go
who
on.
said during the photo call, Andy, can you move it, please? You're blocking HRH. Thank you, everyone.
It gets better.
Completely.
Because I like that because Bradley Wiggins turned down the honour of being the flag bearer.
Yes.
Because he thought it should go to a woman. And then
No, he
offered
didn't.
it
It's
to
because there
Andy
were no
Murray.
mod colour. There were no mod
Is
motifs
he
on it.
still a mod, though? I don't know.
These
He hasn't
people
got-
don't ever change.
Well, that's the thing, that carrying a Union Jack would be like the perfect thing for a mod to do.
Yeah, he should be drunk.
Steve, you're right.
It's an incredibly noble thing for him to do. But I like
He
that.
could have been on a Lambretta.
But he said it should go to a woman, and then Andy's like, "No, I'm fine." There's just no way Judy would let him turn that down.
No, he did say it should be a female cyclist. That's what he
Yeah.
said.
Oh, he's lovely. One of those feminists he is.
Yes, he's one of them women's livers. Hey, he'll be burning his parka. Next thing we know.
I saw a fantastic headline on a royal website. There's like a royal news website.
You
and
were
there-
looking at a
Yeah.
royal website.
They're
Oh, he
often-
loves it.
I
Do you
like-
get royal alerts when any news happens in the
they're
royal
often
community?
for like the real insanity. I love those weird hinterlands. So the way they reported the photo shoot, they said Princess Anne nearly jabbed in face as Andy Murray struggles with flag wearing duties.
Princess Anne nearly jabbed in face. I'd have left it there. Oh, I don't like the idea of her being jabbed in the face at her age, whatever that age might be.
Lovely little sense of humour, though.
I was watching the preview show last night, and they went around the Olympic Village. Didn't look that nice. You know, the Chinese
Nice.
were complaining about it.
Well, the Chinese, they didn't like
look
it.
lovely.
They've called it Rio the worst Olympics ever.
What I
already.
like is some of the athletes have put like flags in the window, like people do. You know, like people do in England when England's in a football tournament. I mean, you're in it. You don't need to prove anything. It's fine.
Well, they love news stations. They love like a badly made sink in an athlete's village. That's catnip to journalists.
Yes.
Where they get to wander around going, look at the state of this.
What about the faulty shower rails?
Yeah,
the Chinese made an actual video. I mean,
it's a good programme, though.
Well, no, I don't know if they have access to Netflix.
Faulty
looking
showers.
at faulty shower rails is not that entertaining. Oh, I've just got the joke. I liked it, Frank. Lovely.
I think a lot of it is to do with the fact that we did the last Olympics. So now it's, look at the terrible job they've made out of it after we were so brilliant.
Yeah. Which, interestingly, China, as well as dissing Rio, they've been a bit snooty about our one as well.
It's all going to be Brexit, Steve.
They're trying to imply that Britain has redeemed itself only in the light of Rio being a shambles.
Can I say, I've always been a great fan of the Chinese in everything they do, and I would back them to the hilt. I'm sure they wouldn't lie in any way. This has nothing to do with a Chinese billionaire buying West Bromwich Albion yesterday.
Frank
Skinner
on Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
Matt Homewood has tweeted the show to say HRH is 65. Good old girl.
Oh,
65.
Congratulations. Well done, Steve.
I'm useful in a pub quiz.
Yes. And in life in general.
Well, it looks amazing for 65, that's all I'm saying.
Thank you very much. I don't often hear that.
And also, very much in my catchment area. Oh, imagine. Can you imagine if I started going out with the Princess Royal?
Oh, no.
Well, if she was at a red carpet and they went, how do you spell your name? And she could just go HRH.
Yeah. Old David Lloyd, Bumble, having a go at her at the test match as we sit together. Who's that you're with?
Oh, is that Andrew Lloyd Webber?
So I think the thing about these, the Olympic Village, what the Chinese objected to, they did look a bit, there was just something so depressing. I mean, I would actually, if I was an Olympic athlete, I know it's hard to imagine that, possibly equestrian now, I could actually qualify for that, I'm good at something. I wouldn't do it on the ground. If I had to stay in those rooms, did they force you?
Well,
just asking for a friend.
I thought the Chinese were very much, make do and mend. I thought they come from a sort of society that was against.
Superpower now.
Yeah, but they're
global superpower.
I don't know what Chairman Mao would have said of it. That people would have been happy for those flats in the good old days.
Oh, God.
No, but they're not joining in. I don't understand that.
Well, I quite like the video of them trying to do up the shower. Was quite nice. It felt sort of like an episode. It felt like a game in the Crystal Maze or something.
Yes, it did.
Yes,
the shower curtain fell down. They were very unhappy about that. I thought they'd like peeking.
Oh my God!
Very nice. Like ordinarily, like when they present a thing being completely in a state of disarray architecturally, it usually prefaces Annika Rice being sent in to do it up.
But you're right.
Nick Knowles always appears where there's an unruly floorboard. There's a Nick Knowles.
When I think of Nick Knowles, I think of an untied bow tie.
Yes, and you know what I think of, Frank?
That's his publicity shot.
Well, I tell you what I think of. A cowboy boot with black tie outfit.
I can see that.
Okay, I've got photographic proof of this. The thing is about these rooms, I don't mind if things are a bit shabby chic, but it looks very like lads in Iron Apple, £199 a week. It's one of those holidays.
It does look like that, yeah.
Yeah.
And I've heard tales of the Olympic Village.
From who?
Well, from Olympians.
Extraordinary friends.
It really is crazy times there.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
You're talking about the gentleman's excuse me's coming out and things?
I'm talking about a lot of young, extremely fit, prime of their life people away from home. You can guess the rest.
Yeah.
It's all gone a bit Orlando Bloom.
I think the swimmers, do they finish early, the swimmers? I think they finished... That's what I've heard. Now, the swimmers, I think their events finish early, and then they
knock off early,
and then a couple of lengths, and then they're off.
I mean, I'm not one to gossip.
Well, I
yeah.
wonder about the equestrians. Those would be my people, you see.
Yeah, but then you think they'll be in the corner. They'll be like the shooting people in bed for 8 o'clock.
Yeah. Also,
They're not going to do well, are
Also,
they?
yeah,
I'm
like,
not,
You don't want
I'm
to make
not
too
being
much,
rude.
You don't want to make too much noise next to their room. No.
No, but come on.
They're not going to miss. Let's face it. They lose their temper.
This is
Frank Skinner, Absolute Radio.
Frank, you were talking about how you think they might be quite active in the Olympic
I
Village.
think- I think they live
They
it
love
up.
the night time.
Yeah, they love it up. They live it up and love it up.
Well,
Damn you, Freud.
I was just telling you off air, I was recalling when I went over to the Olympics in Athens,
Oh, yes.
not as a competitor,
No.
but I did go over there and I saw a couple of nights running. I'd see the wrestlers who I'd seen during the day, or the weightlifters who are my favourites. They do actually do that. They were going around the bars of Athens in their swimming costume things they wear, the tankini swimming costume.
Just wearing that?
No, they had a tracksuit over it.
Yeah.
And the medals going to girls because they knew, I mean, it's the ultimate pulling
It's a bit like
technique.
that person who texted in and said, I always suggest swimming as a second date, so
Yes.
I'll have a look to whether it's worth persevering.
I mean,
Or
they're
not.
basically saying, look, I've got the medal, are you in?
Channel 4 have picked up that idea and run with it.
Extraordinary,
I know
actually.
that is amazing, walking around with your medal on.
Walked around with his medal on.
Which
But,
is
you know,
kind of a
there's an honest- sorry,
1970s
Steve.
look revived.
But also, Steve, I felt there was an honesty, in a sense, to the transaction.
Well,
it's a
it
bit like
saves-
saying, I'm on telly,
Let's
I'm
face it.
hideous, but I'm on telly.
It's like my Frank Skinner name badge at the test match.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it is. It's because
Yeah.
you're going to bring up the gold medal, so you
Yeah.
might as well
course.
just wear
Was there-
it.
Just
there
get
any-
it out there.
Was there any bronze on display? The silver and bronze, would they?
No, I think he was silver. He might have had 2, but we saw him talk to at least 3 women. He was doing very well with that
If
medal.
you meet someone in a bar, it's good to know that they've medalled.
It's like just if you ugly men just carry around a printout of your bank statement.
Yes. Well, I've got a T-shirt. In fact, now I'm going to add my IMDb. What's the initial?
IMDb.
Yes, I'm going to add that.
Do you know you've got several entries?
Yes, well, not for years. I on the shower curtain.
So I'm still dealing with that.
Okay. I stayed at a B&B in Southend with an ex-girlfriend.
Aw.
And, well, I wasn't with an ex-girlfriend. She was my current girlfriend at the time. And this woman was called... perhaps I shouldn't name her. But anyway, we went into... We checked
Oh,
in.
why not?
In case she's still alive.
Okay.
And... I remember the shower curtain there had got, I would say it had the human hair of at least 10 people on it. I suggested that you could actually peel away the shower curtain and there would be a human hair shower curtain that was sturdy enough to operate on its own. It was incredible. And that woman, she checked in, me and this woman, and... she's very nice, welcome and thanks very much, and I hope you have a nice time in Southend. Took us up to the room and stuff like that, went away. And I'll be honest, we were on the bed canoodling. 10 minutes
Sounds
later...
like some Confessions of a Comedian
Yeah,
film.
10 minutes later, suddenly the door burst open. And it was this same woman with 2 people with suitcases, and she went, "Who on earth are you?" She checked us in 10 minutes earlier to that room. And my girlfriend was,
Can I say I love the use of on earth?
I know, yeah. And my girlfriend was so terrified by this madness that when we got back from us doing the gig there, when we got back, I had to look under the bed and in the wardrobe to prove that this woman wasn't, and we had to put a chair by the door, Alan Cochrane style, to make sure she didn't burst in again in the middle of the night.
That's terrifying.
It was
It's
very-
a good thing they didn't find, like, you weren't experimenting with the human hair shower curtain.
But even had
We
she
weren't
not...
experimenting with anything, let me make that clear. No.
Even had she not checked you in 10 minutes earlier, it seems a very extreme reaction if you run a hotel and you see human beings in your room to say, who on earth are you?
No, but it's 10 minutes earlier. I mean, it wasn't as embarrassing as it could have been. As I said when I took those 2 monkeys to the taxidermist, holding hands, not mounted.
This is
Frank Skinner, Absolute Radio.
Now, we need to talk about the biggest story of the week. I refer to Mr. Orlando Bloom.
You're right, that has been the elephant in the room. Or it could be in a shadow puppetry context.
The Shadow.
Well, that's how...
I mean, I can't even begin to discuss The Shadow.
Yes, which, in case you don't know, I nearly called him Leopold then. Orlando Bloom was on a...
Orlando in full bloom, as they said.
What do they call it? A paddle...
Paddleboarding. I've done it, actually, Frank.
Not that he needed the paddle.
You stand on a board and you paddle. I don't like the way this is going already.
Can we just keep things a little bit clean, okay?
He certainly did. Yes.
I've been paddleboarding. I did it in Florida. All the celebrities do it.
Okay.
It's very fashionable. Have either of you done it?
No.
Steve?
No.
Okay. It's great. I mean, you do feel it's very liberating, but I've never done it naked.
No. Well, I mean, I find if you're Orlando Bloom, who's a name, once you take your trunks off in a public beach context, you can only be doing that to get in the papers, can't you? Can there be any other reason for doing it?
Well, maybe he thought it was.
Yeah.
Did he forget he was famous?
Yeah.
I think
It's like he thought, I'll take the heat off Tom Hiddleston for a while.
Okay, in case any of you are thinking, well, I don't know, maybe you might not have been recognised, on the same board was Katy Perry.
Yes.
Right, sitting in front. I'm not even sure she knew what he'd done. She had her back to him.
Yeah.
She probably thought it was
I'm describing her as the victim from now on.
I think she thought that was at the beak of a playful dolphin banging against her back.
She's fully clothed.
She's got a bikini on.
Yeah.
She's got a bikini. Well, in his terms, that's fully clothed.
Well, this is the other thing I felt for her. I think,
So did he.
Katy Perry in a bikini, that should be the story, shouldn't it? And, I mean...
Instead, old Privates of the Caribbean,
yes,
as they're calling him.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I mean, that is...
Because initially it was
not
covered...
fair. It's like when you go to a wedding, it's the bride's day.
Yeah.
Well, when
You've stolen her thunder.
when it
It's all
first
of it. There are
surfaced-
3 people in this marriage.
Because there was the black
And
box.
what a person.
Sorry, Steve.
It was obscured by the black box initially, the first photo, so it was, you went by the
Take that
shadow. And then the first person to send me the uncensored version was producer Charlie.
Really?
She sent me the uncensored image with "The wait is over." And I was sat on a tube. I was at a tube stop where you get the internet reception kicks in on the phone, and sat on a tube. I looked at the picture and exclaimed in the middle of the tube, "Christ Almighty!"
See, I won't tolerate blasphemy on this show.
Oh, but you'll happily talk about Privates of the
I wasn't
Caribbean.
blaspheming. It was
know.
praise. God was very proud
You'll
of his
happily
creation.
talk about the gentleman's excuse me.
I
Now,
can't tell you how upset I am now.
Can I just say-
Well,
carry on.
God created that magnificent beast.
The Daily Mirror had a flip for full nudity option on there.
I saw it.
Which annoyed me because they didn't do that when Ava Herzegovina accidentally strayed onto a nudist beach last week. Oh no, we didn't have that option. We had to make do and mend.
Come on. I mean, Orlando, I'm seeing him in a whole new light now.
No, yes,
I mean,
I think-
absolutely
Yeah.
magnificent.
People
I
are fed up
think
with
if they,
elections.
I'm
He
sorry.
is,
I'm not going to lie. I'm not beating around the bush. There was something extraordinary.
Yes.
It's people are fed up of the elections in the US are getting people down, and he's that's one poll that everyone is interested
Oh,
in.
for goodness.
Do you know what he... No, let's keep this clean. I would say, though, I think it was a bit like when the moths attacked Ronaldo. It was a global moment. It was shared joy.
Well, I thought if they had the tunic slightly modified, he could play Captain Hook. Probably need to have seen the picture to have got the full impact.
Frank, can I ask why Charlie is sharing these nudie pictures with Steve and not with us?
Well, I'm glad she didn't send it to me. I don't want that in my inbox.
I do.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Meanwhile, over on Orlando's paddleboard,
Yes.
things were hotting up. Well, they weren't really. This is what was strange. I mean, she looked quite unmoved, but then I suppose, as you say, she wasn't aware.
I don't think she knew. Also, she's got religious parents. I feel for her.
Yeah.
I mean, what they're going to
You feel for her?
Yes.
That's tricky when Orlando's around.
Oh, come, stop it now. I'm glad we kept this till last.
I do think, though, there is something odd about stripping off under those circumstances. Now, I know the very beautiful are very body confident, aren't they?
Oh, yes.
Which is why you always get, you know, I've seen it myself backstage at shows. No one's got a scrap on.
Really?
However,
This is fashion shows,
yeah,
though.
stick around. You might want to get to know me.
Models are very cash about it.
Very cash.
Yeah.
However, I just think there's something off about it, quite honestly. If you're operating machinery of any sort,
Well, yeah.
stay
It's a
close.
health and safety nightmare.
It's health and safety. It's a vehicle you're
Lynn
driving.
Forbes Wood would not be happy with what she saw.
Frank doesn't say, do you want to lift
be
in the
lucky to fold
BMW?
I
He didn't say, oh, do you want to lift?
the
And then
Skinner
the Calvin
shimmy.
Classics come off.
No, he can only be doing it for publicity. And also, I mean, I just think he's thought to himself, it's about time I went public with this. Seems a shame to hide it a second longer.
Under a bushel.
And I do, I hope it's never been under Gary Bushell.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Have you ever done sport naked? Have you ever participated in any
Oh, I
such
don't know. Why don't
activity?
you and Charlie share some pictures again, like you've been this week?
Have I ever done sport naked? I think I can honestly say I haven't. I mean, I like the classical idea, you know, the Greek, you know, we've all
Yeah.
seen the naked Greek holding his discus. But I think,
I don't like nakedness outside of the house.
I don't like nakedness, I'll be straight with you.
Don't you?
No. I think there's always a special...
Why?
Because then everything is, you know, that's the end, really.
Yeah.
That's the full stop of the reveal. I like, you know... Anyway, never mind what I like. That's neither hither nor thither.
No, but also the beauty of clothes is that it allows us to let ourselves go a little bit and go buy,
Well, that's the other
purchase
thing.
things from the I Have Given Up shop.
See, exactly. If he was a less in shape guy, I'd have thought respect to him. You know, if that had been a
Yeah.
picture of me naked,
Well, the picture.
well, you wouldn't have been able to see anything very private because it would have been in deep shadow from my gut.
Yeah, well, there's the pictures of David Cameron on the beach who's filled out a bit.
Yeah, but respect to people who do that. And
Yeah.
also, I couldn't help but think sunburn. You know what happened
Me
to me?
too.
That standing up
Yeah.
sun thing I went to. Do you know about this, Steve? I burnt the very extremity.
Oh,
And the next time I went, you know those gold cones that
Which
you felt...
extremity? Oh, yeah, when you went... you called it the standing up sun thing. Do you mean a sunbed?
a stand and
Standing
tan.
up. No,
Yeah.
not a sunbed. You stand up in a
They're still
booth.
called... Okay, suntanner booth.
And you know when you get those gold cones that you put in your
Yeah.
eyes to stop? Well, I said, next time I went back, I said, can I have 3? And I honestly used 3 gold cones to protect
Yeah.
myself. I look like... If
You
can
need it.
If you imagine C-3PO with no clothes on.
Stand by your tan.
Frank, is Orlando the equivalent of that Olympic wrestler or weightlifter in the Olympic Village going around wearing his gold medal, essentially?
But I think he's you know, they're both letting it dangle. But watch out for some... I tell you, I could have replaced Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer for a week. Anyway, he knows best, I suppose. He'll never be taken quite the same again, I think.
No.
Anyway,
No, but it...
Third
To hell with it.
Legolas, that was the other nickname I've seen for him.
good Lord, will it never end?
Can we just say, if anyone wants to go and see Gareth, he's on at Whistle Binkies, I believe the venue is called, in
Okay.
Edinburgh, and it's 2:45 every day.
Yes, go and see Gareth Richards. He's a very funny man, as anyone listening to this show will know. So thank you for listening to this show, and if the good Lord spares us and the creeks don't rise, we'll be back again this time next week. Now get out.
The Frank Skinner Show on Absolute Radio. Back Saturday morning from 8. Tune in live for the full Frank experience.